Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harding. Glad to be back with another incredible episode. Got a great guest upcoming here in the next few minutes. So, very excited to have her on. But before we get started, hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. A happy Wednesday, hump day. It is February 11th, and I am excited. I'm very excited to have my next guest coming up here. So, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Hardin, and you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it is Spotify, Apple. We're on YouTube, BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com. BS3 Network Roku channel, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, wherever you have podcasts, you you download your podcast and listen. We're there as well. Follow the network, BS3TVLive.com, BS3 Network on all the platforms there. And you can follow me on all the social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, where I'm most active, and I'm also on TikTok and a little bit of Blue Sky, not too much, but a little bit of Blue Sky as well. So I will bring in my guest, but I want to read her resume first and get her introduction, get it right and everything too, because this is an incredible resume. And like I said, I can't wait to dive in and get to know her a little bit and share her story as well. So is Jonna Perlinger. She is a lifelong Yankees fan whose love for baseball began at birth, but really grew up when she received a broken back from Buck Showalter at the age of 6, just before the 90s dynasty took off. And I'm from upstate New York, so I know all about the Yankees dynasty as well. She folded her passion for the game into a career in sports media after a voluntary experience at the 2021 MLB All-Star Week. Since then, she has covered the Yankees and the Phillies on New Jersey on New Jersey sports. She founded Bays Media to amplify hers and other women's voices in baseball. We're gonna get into all that. And since she hails from Omaha, home of the greatest show on dirt, she has taken pride in covering the College World Series. Most recently, she was credentialed for the Major League winter meetings and will be covering the reigning Big East champion Creighton Blue Jays upcoming season. So welcome to the Real Deal Podcast, Jonna Perlinger.
That was an incredible intro. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing this. I know we connected on Instagram and saw your page there, and somehow, the algorithm of social media, glad it did. And I said, hey, I'm going to reach out. So reached out, we connected and we set this up. So again, happy to have you on. I'm so glad to have you on. So thanks again. We can't really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Excited to connect.
Yes, I'm very excited to connect too. But how are you doing? How's your week been, first and foremost, before we get into everything? How's everything going?
I mean, it couldn't be better because the Super Bowl always marks the official start to baseball. So for me, I look forward to Super Bowl Sunday for reasons that most people don't look forward to Super Bowl Sunday. But yes, I'm very happy. Pitchers and catchers reported today, so there's a lot for me to look forward to on the horizon.
Yes, for sure. And then you're right. I think once football season ends with Super Bowl and, you still got NBA, but then Major League Baseball is right around the corner, college basketball, other sports and things like that too, if you're a fan of that. So sports just continues. But I know when football season ends, it's like, okay, but baseball's starting and, spring training and you said pitchers and catchers have, now have reported, and then, everybody in the full teams will be there, and then it'll be spring training and it'll be warmer weather too, for sure.
Yes. And I don't know about you guys, but where I'm at, spring feels in the air this week for sure. We're like in the mid 60s. So it's feeling pretty good.
Oh my goodness, yeah. We're not in the 60s. I'm in Philadelphia, so not in the 60s. We're supposed to get 40s and 50s this weekend and next week. So
There you go.
the
Start climbing.
yeah, it's gonna feel like a heat wave compared to what it was
Yes,
for
for
like two
sure.
weeks straight. It's been below zero and everything too. So it's yes, it's gonna feel good. I mean, it was 42 today, so that was much better than 10 and single digits for
Yes, for
sure.
sure.
But
It does. It feels like a heat wave.
yeah, it feels like heat wave, right? Yes, yes. So again, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it. So let's get into it. I mean, I read your kind of your origin story already, but I always ask my first time guests, who is Jonna Perlinger and how did you get started? A little bit more of your background.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a diehard sports fan in general. My family
Mhm.
is a big sports family. My dad was a basketball coach growing up, so we all, me and my siblings, played all the sports. We grew up in a small town where you play all the sports in high school.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've been around sports my whole life, but my dad, was growing up in the 70s when the Yankees went on their 70s run and passed that love on to me. And as you mentioned in my bio, it really, I think, took off for me when I was just 5 years old and I guess I was 6 years old, and received a broken bat from Buck Showalter, the manager of the Yankees at the time. So yeah, that was a big moment for me in my fandom, and I think from then on, I was kind of an obsessed little kid. Uh, I wasn't like most little girls. I was a little tomboy growing up with my brother being the oldest of the three of us, and I just always kind of idolized him and kind of wanted to like follow in his footsteps. And so, yeah, I just been being around sports. That moment was big. Like, managers and players don't realize, and coaching staff, like what a just one small gesture like that can change the trajectory of a fan's life, really. So it just, yeah, it always stuck with me. And obviously that happening right before the 90s dynasty too was kind of big with the timing, because it was a critical time to get into my fandom as a Yankee fan.
Yes, yeah. Interesting. You said, like you said, during the 90s Yankees when they were just running baseball and just winning constantly, that the dynasty. Like I said, I'm originally born and raised in upstate New York, so Yankee fans. I mean, a lot of fans, the Mets, Yankees, and Phillies, all through, but a lot of Yankee fans up that way. And I remember growing up through, witnessing all that during that time in the 90s. I was in high school, so it was just seeing that in a lot of Yankee fans. It was incredible to see and everything too. As you said, getting that broken back from Buck Showalter at the age of 6 started your fandom and things like that. How, like I said, talk a little bit more about that, and like you said, how much of an impact that has. You said you're a big Yankee fan, you cover them, you're a big fan and everything too. And growing up, and even who's your favorite Yankees of all time too, as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so as I mentioned, the bat thing happened. I was about 6 years old, so I was going into, I think I was in first grade when that happened. And then,
Mhm.
like, that was a time, we had show and tell at school, so I would take that bat with me
Yeah.
about every other time, and my friends were like, "We've seen this thing a million times," uh, which cracks me up now because I don't think they would let you into school with a baseball bat nowadays. Um,
No, probably not. Right. That's funny.
but yeah, so I took that with me, and I remember like I would set it by the TV, during the
Mm,
postseason games of the 90s. And Halloween, I remember my parents would be like, "Well, we can't go trick or treating because the Yankees are playing," so they'd be playing in the postseason. My parents would send us out with our friends' parents to
yeah.
do our trick or treating, and then we'd get back in time to catch the end of the games and stuff. But yeah, I just have a lot of fond memories of sitting around the TV watching with my family. And then, yeah, I just baseball kind of always stuck with me. I played softball, and my
Mhm.
dad was the coach, and we were always the Yankees. We always named ourselves the Yankees for some
Right.
reason. So yeah, we had the whole get up. And but yeah, that stuck with me too. I mean, it's kind of like through every phase, the Yankees were just always there for me. And my sister, she's older. I'm the youngest of the three. She was a big volleyball player, went on to play college volleyball and everything. And I just kind of always wanted to find my own thing that wasn't, what she was into. And so I was always more into softball. And I think that the whole softball connection and my dad being the coach and always being the Yankees and just kind of the way my fandom played out over the years, just I think really stuck with me more than I would say, than it did with my siblings. So fast forward, I go about my years, I go to college, I go get my degree in criminal justice, has nothing to do with baseball or sports or media or anything, right?
Right.
And so I was living in Denver when the MLB All-Star Week got moved. It was 2021. It was supposed to be in Atlanta, but with COVID, there was something odd there that happened. And so they ended up moving it very last minute to Denver. So they're like frantically sending out emails like the Denver Sports Commission. We're looking for volunteers, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect for me. I love baseball anyway. I've always followed like all baseball, not just the Yankees. But so yeah, I jumped right on that and went and I signed up to be an MLB and volunteer and went through the training and everything. And there were probably 700 total volunteers, I think. And of the 700, just 30 of us were chosen to work the MLB draft, which was so cool. I mean, that was the first year they moved the draft to the same week as the All-Star Week. So it was cool. Like I got to take in the draft and then I got to take in all the All-Star Week festivities, the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Game and, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I walked away from that week and Lauren Gardner, who everyone knows from the MLB Network, she's actually a Denver native. So I feel like maybe that's why they let her be the onstage. I think that's why she was the one who did the onstage like announcements during the draft.
Yeah.
But I saw her up there and I was like, why am I not doing something like that? I could do that. I love baseball. Why did this never occur to me that that should be me? I've been around this my whole life. And there's another moment in my life that I had that like same kind of feeling, I guess, or spark, where I watched the movie Trouble with the Curve. And I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a Clint Eastwood movie, and his daughter his daughter grows up traveling the country with him. He's an MLB scout. And so she travels the country with him. She goes on to become a lawyer. And then, and later in her life, she has to come back to kind of tend for her dad and his bad health. And she realizes the same thing. She's like, I've been around baseball my whole life. Like, this is what I love. And so she goes on to be a scout herself. Like, I hate to give away the movie story.
No, that's fine. No.
The whole thing just, sparked for me, like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Like, I never had a thing that I was like, this is the thing for me. I have friends who are teachers, who are lawyers, who are doctors, and they always knew that's what they wanted to do. But for me, I was like, I never really had that, you know what I mean? Where it was just a clear vision. And I had these two moments in my life happen where I was like, holy crap, it's always been baseball for me. Yeah. And so I walked away from that week. I was like, I'm working in law now and I have to figure out a way to just kind of force my way into the profession. And so I wasn't really like, at the time I was like, maybe I need to go get my master's degree in communications and go that route. But as time has gone on, I've chipped away in just different ways. And it's just a lot of opportunities have just kind of come to fruition, I guess. So right after that, I started tweeting during games, live tweeting. And so like I got really into the Yankees, like immersed into the Yankees community who's there every game, right? Like there's a core group of us who are just always there every game. And I think, as time's gone on, like I've gotten to know some of those core groups of other fan bases too, who are always on there tweeting during their games. But yeah, so that's kind of how I started. And that page or my Twitter account has just grown a lot over time. And from then so that was 2021. And then 2022, I had on New Jersey, the director now, he was with the Jersey Sporting News at the time, but we all moved over to On New Jersey eventually. But anyway, he reached out to me over Twitter and was just like, have you ever thought about baseball writing? We love your content. Like, have you considered it? Because we need a lead Yankees writer. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like, I've never like, you trust me to do this? I've never,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm creative and I'm a good writer.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never done any like sports writing, right?
Yeah.
But I decided, like, with the little shove from some of my friends who were just like, "You're the perfect person for this. You have to do this." Because in the past, I would get in my own way about things, like, and I don't think I can do that, and I just wouldn't do it.
Didn't do
And
it right.
yes, but yeah, my friends were like, gave me the little shove I needed, and they're like, what's the worst that can happen? So I decided to say yes to it, and that was right before Aaron Judge. It was right before he went on his 62 chase. So
Yeah.
that was such a cool time, and it was like
Yeah.
such an honor to be a baseball writer during that chase. Like, that's such a historical moment. So
Yes, it was.
yeah, that happened. So I've started writing for them. I've been with them now for 4 years, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. And then so 2020, so that was 2022. And I think that gave me the confidence to say, okay, like, I had been doing this Twitter thing for a while. And, for the most part, fans are extremely respectful on there, but I still get a few people who are like, why would we listen to you? You're a female, whatever, just like stupid
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yep.
Which,
Yep.
if you just do a little digging, these aren't real fans. They're just people who are out there who just like love to ruin people's day. So anyway, I decided I should create a platform of some sort. Like, at the time, I thought just podcast. And so I was like, I should create a space for women to talk about baseball. And, I have such a deep appreciation for the way that baseball, not only the game and the sabermetrics behind it, and all the, like, the business side of it, but
Yeah.
also just like the life of it, right? The way
Mhm.
that it like correlates with life, like real life, and how it connects people and generations upon generations. And so I think just like the way it connects families too. And so it's like, what I want to do a podcast and just talk about all the aspects of baseball, and, like the storytelling aspect of it too. So I did that. And, like, life just got busy for my two co-hosts at the time. And so they went off and they do their own thing now. And I kept it going because it was the brand that I had created to begin with. And so I turned it more into just doing Instagram, content creation. So that's what I've morphed into, and don't do as much podcasting except for guest appearances. But yeah, I just cover the whole league, which is nice too. It's given me a whole, I think, new respect, right, for other teams and
Yeah.
for the business, the way they run their businesses too. So
That-
that's where I'm at now. Just I'm writing for On New Jersey, and I'm covering the whole league with content creation for Babes. And I still, I'm very active on my Twitter. And then, yeah, on top of all of that, I am going to start covering the Creighton Blue Jays this year, because I'm located in Omaha. And so it's like, I need to start doing more local coverage too. So
I love it. I love the journey. That's a journey, and then it continues because, as you said, it's from year to year to year, you just continue to keep leveling up. You continue to keep pushing the boundaries. You continue to keep pushing doors down and saying, okay, hey, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And you're like, hey, I know you said you've growing up in baseball, love it. Why not cover it? You can do the same thing. So, and I think that shows a lot of resilience, not giving up. And I love hearing how people get into sports media, different, because everyone has a different path. Some go to college route, go to school, and things like that. But now you have social media, you have other opportunities and more opportunities to build your brand and to build your portfolio and your resume. And there's a lot of there's opportunity. Yes, there's a lot of times. We just saw the Washington Post just laid off a whole, sports. So as we know, sports journalism and media can be very, toxic and all those things. But but there are opportunities for people to be able to share, share their story, have their voices heard in different ways, not just the traditional, um, just on TV and things like that, which is the goal, I'm sure, but you have other opportunities to do it, on social media, content creating and things like that. So I think that's incredible. You have a credible story of how you got to where you are today. So that's
Thank you.
congratulations on that, and for
Thank
sharing that,
you.
because then someone who will be listening to your story could say, hey, you know I can do this, and you feel like, yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to go this route, but you just never know who you might reach with that story. So thanks for sharing that,
Thank
for
you.
sure. So let's talk about Babes. You're the founder of that. And it's amplifying women's voices in baseball. Talk about a little bit more about that, why you started it, and you said you want to amplify more women's voice in baseball, which we are seeing more and more now, which is incredible. Women in sports in general is incredible. But talk about Babes.
I've always had a little bit of a hot head, just like it's just since I was little, right? Like I was kind of a cocky little kid. Like I was a good little athlete when I was little and just like would get frustrated, in school, like PE, if like other kids, like I don't know. I don't want to make myself sound terrible because that is not the case at all. But
Right.
I was just very competitive. In fact, even my PE teacher told my parents like she is too competitive actually,
Mm.
which is so funny because that was my dad's co-coach and they coached high school basketball together and he ended up being my high school volleyball coach. So the fact that like even the high school coach was like, she's in kindergarten and she's too competitive is hilarious now to me because
Yeah.
like he's very competitive, right? But anyways, yes, very competitive. Like when I was little, I just um I remember we'd even do like he'd ask trivia questions after PE class. We'd be lining up to go to our next class and he would ask some trivia questions. And I would like, anything baseball, like I had to be the one to answer it.
You
And
knew the answer,
sometimes I
right?
think he would throw me a bone because he would definitely ask some Yankees questions that only I would have known, right? So I think back to that and it's just funny. But yeah, so to that point, like I might be out in public, with a male, like some male wearing a Yankee hat too, right? Like my dad or my brother, like my family, whatever. And people will approach them and want to immediately talk about the Yankees. And I could be wearing more stuff than they're wearing, but they go directly to the mail. And
Mm.
that drives me insane to this day. And I know like people don't even probably do it on purpose, right? Like I don't think they're trying to single me out or whatever, but it drives me nuts. And I'm like, whoa, hey, I'm a baseball writer and I'm a content creator. I could tell you more about them than any of these people with
Yeah.
me right now, you know?
Yep.
And so it just like that always kind of like irks me a little bit. And I think so that could be a little bit of the driver behind it where it's like I need to create a space for women. Like I said, I've had some nasty experiences on Twitter and things like
Mm.
that too, where people are just like, go back to the kitchen. I've had a lot of people comment that. I don't get that as much anymore, but when I first got on Twitter and started doing live tweeting during games, I had a lot of stupid comments like that. So a lot of that was the driver behind doing that. And I was like, you know what? And I was thinking about it. I was like, because podcasts were kind of taking off at the time too, especially a lot of baseball podcasts. I thought about it and I was like, I actually don't know any podcast where it's all just women
Mm.
talking about baseball. I was like, we need that. And
Yeah.
so that's when I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. And I wanted my platform to just be, like I said, about all aspects of the game, not just like, let's talk about what's going on this week, like let's do game recaps and things like that. I wanted to talk about like the emotional side of baseball, which I
Mhm.
feel like men just don't connect with as much as women do, right? Like we're very emotion driven and there's a whole story about baseball that I feel like isn't being told.
Mhm.
That whole emotional side of it. So like that and just like the way that it connects our family. For me, one way that I've bonded with my dad over the years, right? And I know there's like a lot of other little girls who feel the same way, who that's how they bonded with their grandparents or their parents or whatever. And I want to be able to tell that side of the story too, and not just talk about, like I said, like stats and game recaps, what's going on this week, with this team or whatever. And the other thing that I don't see a whole lot either, as I was doing my deep dive back then, was not only are there not a lot of podcasts out there of women talking about, like solely women talking baseball, but talking about the entire league. Because I do know of I know quite a few now, and I'm like friends with these people, and they cover their team, which is amazing, and I love that. But I was like, there aren't that many that actually cover like the whole league, everybody.
Yeah.
So I had some big lofty goals, and I feel like it's morphed, like I said, more into doing content creation, but I almost feel like I've had more of an impact with that than I have, than I was able to with podcasting. And like I said, I just have a lot of things going on right now. So that's what I'm able to do and accomplish,
Yeah.
but it's working for me. And yeah, I think it's a good way to do it right now for me, since I'm kind of, like I said, just working on my own.
Yeah, and then just to have that platform to have other women involved, which is needed anyway, as you said, it's much needed. And like you said, you've dealt with certain trolls and people that just they say the nastiest things and hiding behind the computer and all that. And it's sad that it's still going on in 2026, that the people that are saying these things and everything too. But like I said, you've been resilient. You said you set goals and a standard and said, hey, I'm gonna go in here and break down these doors. And here I am to you said to elevate women's voices into this space. And like I said, you're seeing more and more now. But one thing that I thought that you said was very important is the storytelling of baseball and how important that is. And you said yes, it's a statistical sport, stat driven, and everything too. But to hear the stories behind those stats, the stories behind that, the business side of it, and everything too, I love that. I love deep diving in all those things too when it comes to sports as well. So talk about how important that is when it comes to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, so baseball, as we all know, is very aligned with like certain events of American history, right? Like it is crazy. It is the only sport that like has literally forced change, true change in our nation, right? And an
Yeah.
important change. And so there are things like that like that it's unmatched in other sports, and so there's that aspect of it. There's like I mentioned, how it brings families together, how it
Yeah.
has bonded. Like I said, me and my dad, we don't, to be honest, we haven't bonded over a lot of things, but baseball is one of them. And so I hold that close to my heart, because
Yeah.
I feel like that was one common like love and interest that we both have had. And so that means a lot to me. Yeah, I mean, just the history of it, and I don't know, like the smells, the sounds, the things that are, like I said, unmatched in every other sport. You don't go to an NBA game and hear the organ, smell the popcorn, smell the hot dogs. Like you don't hear beer here. Well, you might hear that, but they're just like it's everything. And I don't know. To me, I just feel like baseball's an unmatched sport, and because of more than just the game itself, but also if you truly understand and love the game, there are so many different scenarios that can happen in a game's time, and the game can flip like that. And I also love that it's the one sport that isn't like it isn't hinging on a clock running out, right? Like
Right.
the game isn't over until it's truly over. Like
Yes.
that's how it, it's not. And so anyway, I think that just makes the game all that more exciting and interesting. And yeah, I mean, you can be down by 8 runs in the eighth or ninth inning and still come back and win the dang thing. So it's like the game is never over until it's over. And I just think like there's a lot of excitement in baseball that is like I keep saying the word unmatched, but truly that's how I feel.
Yeah, you bring yeah that point of when you could be down big in the seventh, eighth inning. We've seen this just in the past World Series with the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and they said you're up, and then you could go into an 18 inning game as well. So you just never know.
It's
Yeah,
like right, like the ball getting lodged under the outfield fence
outfield fence.
changed
Yeah,
the
hmm,
entire trajectory of this game. Like
yes,
it,
absolutely.
yeah, it's like you just that is what's crazy to me about baseball. Something so small like that can entirely change the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I remember that game, and the series in general, but incredible series. But it was interesting because I think I had went to bed and thinking I didn't think so. Game is over or whatever. It was getting late and everything too. And then I wake up and was like, wait, it was 18 innings. It's like this is insane. But you have those types of games, as you said. It's just it's never over. It's never over until that last inning. But you have to still just watch to make sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible in baseball. That the storytelling behind something like that, asking those players like getting into a series like that, into a game like that, is fascinating. With their thought processes and then the media covering it as well. So yeah, it's incredible as that too. So, but like you said, you cover the league, but specifically you said Yankees and Phillies too. Talk how that all came about, covering the Phillies as well, also with the Yankees, like kind of a crosstown in a way, a little crosstown rivalry. But yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, but Philly and New York is always going to be a rivalry. But talk about how you got into covering both. I know you talked about the Yankees covering the Phillies as well.
Yeah, I mean, so I am actually the baseball content lead at On New Jersey. So I oversee all the baseball content. We
Yep.
have a lead Yankees writer, me, a lead Mets writer, and we did not have a lead Phillies writer. And we were kind of having a trouble finding somebody that, we like really, wanted to do that job. And
Yeah.
so I took it upon myself last summer to just take it on, and I did that for, last summer. I just covered both teams. I was like, this will be a good way for me to keep my thumb on the pulse of what's going on in the National League.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just took that on. And honestly, I like the Phillies. I've always liked them as like a secondary, my National League team, if you will. So I always kind of rooted for them. But yeah, so that's kind of how that got started. I did, however, over the postseason, started following this girl who was just putting out like the most hilarious content and memes. And at the time, she's a influencer when it comes to like antiquing and stuff like that and
Okay.
thrifting. And so she's got a hilarious page. She puts out a lot of good, funny, Philly sports content. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is so funny. And it just occurred to me over Christmas time this year, I should ask her to come on and be our Phillies writer. She's so smart. She clearly watches every game like I do with the Yankees. Like this is exactly who we need. So I reached out to her, and just like me, she'd been working in a completely other, space than baseball and sports media, but something that she spends a lot of her time on. And so she was like, okay, are you sure? Like, it's the same reaction that I had, which really helped bring her on in the end, because I think she was like, oh, okay, like I guess I can do it. If you have a similar background that I have. So brought her on. She's been amazing. And I'm really excited to see how she, handles the year and covering the Phillies for us.
Yeah, it's great. Like you say, continue to keep adding on and getting those content creators and just building the brand of that as well. So, all right, just got a couple more. Got to talk the Yankees upcoming season and the expectations. I mean, it's always with the Yankees is there's always high expectations, no matter what the team looks like and what they did in the offseason, what they didn't do in the offseason. I know it's always that tug of war when it comes to the off season. You want them to make moves, and then they might not make enough moves, and then they need pitching, they need this, they need that. They always good. They got Aaron Judge, so as long as he's healthy and standing upright, they always have a chance as well. But from your perspective, I know it's still a little early before spring training starts. What's the pulse of the Yankees? What's your expectations leading into this new season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of tug of war. There's fans are so split too because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people are so upset. They're like, they did nothing this offseason. They only brought back the same guy. Like, we're running it back, right? Everyone is
Mhm.
saying that. But people are not looking at the bigger picture. Yes, Garrett Cole will not be ready to go immediately. Carlos Rodon will not be ready to go. Clark Schmidt, obviously, so we have some big question marks with the rotation, but they are not looking at the bigger picture of like, okay, last year we literally tied for AL East lead, right?
Yep.
And when you look at how many games, I mean, I hate to put it on one guy, but Devin Williams blew game after game after
Yeah.
game after game.
Yes.
He blew a lot of games, and I don't know why we kept him rolling him out. And there were a lot of other factors with our bullpen too that it was just a snowball of things. Um, Luke Weaver got hurt, and then he was never the same. But he started like filthy, filthy, and
Yeah.
people forget about that. But he got hurt, and then he got hurt right after Fernando Cruz got hurt. Cruz, Weaver, like that was our 1-2 punch. And they both went down. So then what do? They rush Fernando Cruz back because Weaver goes on the AL. But then they got to rush Weaver back because,
Mhm.
like other guys. And so it was just a snowball of that. We did not have the right bullpen pieces last year. We had so much, like we were just plagued with injury in the bullpen. The rotation, we were plagued there too because Garrett Cole was out all year, and then Clark Schmidt went down, and we had our utility guy Oswaldo Cabrera went down early in the season, like 30 games in. And so it's like, I mean, you start to have all these little things, they just add up. And we still finished tied for the division lead, right? And like,
Yeah.
and we still, like, as much as people want to say, okay, well, let's look at just the postseason. I get that, but I do get that. But I think what people aren't realizing is that until they make some changes with the way they go about their front office, the way they go about
Mm.
the weight they place on analytics, it's not going to be a different. I mean, like, I hate to say it, but bringing in a Bo Bichette isn't going to change that. That's not
Right.
going to change the outcome of the Yankees. It's just not. So they can complain all they want, but I'm like, I don't see how a change like, bringing a Bo Bichette, like I said, on is going to be the difference maker for them. Um, they're going to have to overcome some things like the way their analytics department runs things. They have got to figure out a way to do more contact hitting in the postseason. Like we cannot rely on the home run ball. And,
Right.
we cannot have our, like, the bottom half of our lineup, they cannot be swinging for the fences. They need to figure out how to get on base, which is something that I credit Jazz Chisholm for because he figured out how to do that in the postseason. And well, all year, really. He had an excellent year, his 30-30 season. So I credit him. And I think we need more guys like that in the bottom half of the lineup. So
Mm.
if Volpe can figure out how to do that, and Austin Wells, like those are two guys right there who could be some really big difference makers, but they cannot we do not need you guys to hit home runs. We need you guys to figure out how to get on base and just get your on base percentage up. So, I think the Yankees too. I mean, like the fans just they're relentless. Like
Yeah.
you know, like I get it.
Yeah.
We hold this team to very high standards as we should, but they've got to look at the bigger picture and see that the Yankees did a lot of their work at the deadline last year, bringing in Bednar and Duvall, and we've got a few guys who've come back into the bullpen this year. We also have a lot actually. We have a haul of young arms that are really exciting to me, and
Yeah.
fans should be excited about too. That could possibly break camp, especially in light of um, Cole and Schmidt and Rodon being out for a little while. So, uh, and Cam Schlittler was a wonderful surprise for us during the postseason. So if he can build on that, what he's already established, that's going to be huge. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
great breakdown, which I knew you were going to do that, and no, it's really good. No, it just brings because, as you said, Yankee fans they are very relentless, and you said deservedly so. And then it's always high expectations. It's always World Series or bust, and they've gotten that reputation because of the dynasty and just all those years of dominance and things like that. So and they still carry that even to the 2020s, and things
yeah,
like that. They emphasize continuity. That's what they're doing as well. And I know Brian Cashman, the general manager, he doubled down on the run it back strategy. So with a high payroll as well. So you will see, as you said, though, they were tied for the division lead heading into the postseason. Um, and I agree with you 100% about just getting on base contact, just getting batting, getting contact, not always home runs. And I think that's what the Yankees did, as you said, they fell into that hunting for home runs, hunting for those big shots instead of just getting on base and things like that. So once they get that in, of course, the pitching has to be better and then things like that. But they're just 2 years removed from the World Series,
yeah,
so
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, they've also got a completely different strategy this year because
yeah,
Ben Rice was a giant surprise for them in camp
hmm
last year, where they were
hmm
like, okay, this is going to be an everyday player for us, actually. But now we have to figure out how to do this because we have Paul Goldschmidt. So, how are we going to juggle the two? And what are we going to do? Is he going to be backup catcher? Is he going to be back like platoon at first base? Whatever.
yeah,
There were a lot of question marks. And then DJ LeMahieu, God love the guy, but like the last 3 seasons, they were always bringing him back into the fold like in mid-May or end of May. And it was like, and then trying to figure out where they were going to put him every day. And it was like, no, we can't. So it would always throw off this rhythm that we would get going. So it's just, there were a lot of things last year where it's like they were figuring out what to do with Ben Rice. He wasn't getting as many at bats as he should have been getting because they were platooning with Paul Goldschmidt. This year, they'll see Paul Goldschmidt will be a great piece off the bench. He'll be a great veteran presence for them.
yes,
He can come in, he can hit against lefties, he mashes against lefties. That's when Ben Rice can, so that won't be as often. Then, they've got Cabrera coming back, who they've got, we've got Caballero, who Volpe, he struggles when he doesn't get days off. So now Volpe can maybe get every fourth or fifth day off and they can put Cabby at shortstop or whatever. Dominguez, they were trying so hard to make that work, but now they've got their 3 solid outfielders where they won't have to, mess with Dominguez. So there's a lot that kinks they were working out last year. And the fact that they still came out on top with the best um, OPS, best slugging, most home runs, most hit or RBIs. Like they
yeah,
led the league in several offensive categories and still tied for the division lead with all this stuff up in the air. I mean, I look at other teams and they seem to have their set guys that are there every day. And maybe
hmm
I'm just not as in tune as I like obviously am with the everyday of the Yankees, but I don't see as much as of that like platooning or oh, this veteran came back in May. Let's try to roll him out every single day. I don't feel like I see that as much with like the Dodgers or, you know, the Blue Jays or whatever. It seems like they have their core guys. And I don't know. We try to get too fancy too with switching the lineup up every
Mm,
other day. So
yeah.
I feel like having a more of a clear picture, I think, of what this year, I mean, you can never anticipate the injuries that might take place, but just
Right.
like having the right bench pieces too this year. And um, I don't know what people are thinking, but I think it's a completely different team with like I said, these guys have different roles than they were brought on to do last year.
Yep. And they're anchored by Aaron Judge, so they he's
Yes.
all with one of the best players in baseball, best hitters, best power hitters, all around players in baseball. As long as like we said at the beginning, as long as he's upright and healthy, coming off his third AL MVP award. So long as he had another incredible year,
Yeah.
and was injured on top of
Yeah.
that, and even last season the Yankees started off really hot, and they was on fire at the beginning, and then you said injuries and things like that, maybe managerial questions, with the moves and things, and so there was a lot, but despite all that, they still were, he said, one of the best teams in baseball. Yeah, and yeah, came playoff time, it caught up to them, but it was just one of those things. Yeah, so I think long term, like I agree with you. I think long term with the Yankees is always they're always going to be in the mix, and if they just got to get good health, pitching, all those things. They got to just have everything's got to click
Yeah.
for them to make a run. But they're in and then plus they're in a tough division. They're always in a tough division. The AL East is always incredibly tough. Like I said, they had the representative from the Toronto Blue Jays last season, so I had the representative in the American League in the
Yeah.
World Series. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's gonna be very very interesting to see how this all plays out this year. So I'm excited to see your coverage and excited just to see what how the Yankees how the baseball season turns out. So all right, just got one last one before I let you go. I wanted to ask you about the just the growth of baseball media and things like that. Now you've covered the College World Series, Major League Baseball winter meetings. Speaking of that, how was the winter meetings covering that? I saw some of your coverage. I saw the coverage of that. How was covering the winter meetings?
It was incredible. It
Yeah,
was so incredible. And not even because there was a lot of movement and rumors and things like happening, because there wasn't. The only things that actually happened when we were there were Edwin Diaz to the Dodgers
yeah,
and Kyle Schwarber re-signing with the Phillies, which was no surprise at all. So it
yeah.
was kind of like the Diaz thing was kind of a big deal. And obviously I was with my Mets girl. And so that was like a big deal for us,
Mhm.
for her, obviously. But other than that, there really wasn't that much going on. There wasn't a lot of movement. And so it was kind of cool to be there and just be like seen as a peer. We were not treated any different than anyone else. No one looked at us like, oh, you're first timers. We had some really cool, conversations with people.
Yeah.
One of my favorite interactions was with Jack Curry, the Yankees, like Yes Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, anchor, and he's an incredible human being. He knew who I was right away. Went up to introduce myself, and he was like, "I know who you are." So that was really a cool experience, and just like I got to talk and hang with CC Sabathia's wife Amber for a little bit, and Pat Murphy, the Brewers manager. We got to sit in on his press conference, and he's famous for doing the like making all the reporters introduce themselves to start, I think, to like make everyone feel comfortable in his presence. And
Right.
from then on, he called us the Jersey Girls. So we'd see him in the hallway and he'd be like, "Hey, Jersey Girls, how you doing?" And so it was really cool because we had a lot of like genuine, kind interactions with people. They're just human beings like we are, and just, treated us with the utmost respect. And it was really cool to like see that unfold like that. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's very cool. I saw that. I think when we first connected, I saw that you were at the MLB winter meetings, and that's always an incredible time. You just never know. Like there's so much movement usually, and things like that. But it's good to, as you said, to just to kind of come together with other media and managers and having conversations. And I mean that's the start of really baseball season. Really when it all right after the World Series and a little bit of a break, and then they're right back into it. So that was cool. But
Yeah.
yeah. So, but since you covered all those, the last question is, what's the next major milestone that you're aiming to for your platform?
Yeah, I mean, this year I have some big ones. I just want to try to cover as much as I can. So, like I said, I'm trying to do more local coverage just because that's what I have more bandwidth to do that, obviously, than like hop a plane all the time since I have to cover all those costs. So, I'm trying to just like take in every opportunity that's like available to me right here. So Creighton, I reach out to them. I'm going to cover them and the Big East and kind of try to attend as many of those as I can. I might be attending some Nebraska baseball games as well. The Omaha Storm Chasers, which is the Kansas City Royals AAA team, is here. Their home is Omaha. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to hop down to Kansas City as much as I can and maybe take in some Royals things and not trying to like expand out from Yankees by any means, but
Right.
just trying to like, I guess, make an impact in as many places as I can, right? So I'm just trying to do all that and just make connections with people and yeah, do all that. I'll be continuing to do all my babes stuff. I really amp things up during the season and do like players of the week, things like that, which really help me stay on track with what's going on like around the league. But so yeah, that'll be happening. But yeah, I'm gonna try to cover things like the All-Star Week this year. We're applying for me for credentials for some different things, so we'll see if we get in. We applied for the World Baseball Classic. Don't know if we're gonna get into that because that's a very competitive thing to get into, but
Yeah.
yeah, so just trying to apply for the credentials in as many places as we can and just I guess trying not to say no to things and just keeping my eyes open for as many opportunities as I can. So
That's so cool. And if you do come to the baseball All Star game, which is in Philadelphia, hit me
yeah,
up because I'm definitely trying to get.
I will.
Yeah, yeah, it's for real. Like I really said I'm trying to go for either credentials or not even just that. Be there, be
Yeah,
around that area and everything too. Since it's here, so we'd love to meet you in person if possible. With
that'd be
that, since
awesome.
I'm only 20 minutes away from the stadiums and everything too, so that'll be great to do that. But yeah, Philadelphia's getting a lot of different things this year, so a lot of events: World Cup, Major League Baseball All Star Game, college basketball March Madness is here the first weekend. We just had Unrivaled that was here, so yeah, a lot of things. Philadelphia's getting a lot of things this year, so it's great to great to see that. So, but excited to see what you got coming up. Looking forward to it. Thank you again for doing this. I really appreciate it, and really enjoyed this conversation. Really enjoyed got to get to know you a little bit, and yeah, this was a lot of fun. It was very incredible. So much success to you, and many blessings and for this year, and yeah, and beyond, and seeing your growth and your platform continue to keep growing. So looking forward to see what's next for you as well.
Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best with your show. And if
Thank
there's
you.
ever anything I can do, holler. You have a friend in me. So
Oh, same here. Yeah, you definitely. You like I said, your podcast family now. So you jump on again. You definitely are a family. So, Jonna, thank you again. Really appreciate it. Let everyone know before you go where they can follow you, reach out to you, ask for advice, anything like that, where they can reach out to you on social media.
yeah, you can follow my Instagram baseball platform at babes_baseball. And if you just search babes media, it pops up that way too. So you can do that. You can also follow me on Twitter for your live game tweeting. And I try to, I do mostly Yankee stuff there, but a lot of league wide stuff too. So that is at 90s Yanks Kid, and that's Twitter.
Yes, at 90s Yanks Kids. So follow John on all those platforms as well. So if you want to reach out and share the content, like, subscribe, all those things as well. So again, thank you again, and like I said, you have a friend here too for sure. I really appreciate the time and really enjoyed this. So you have a good rest of the week and weekend coming up. And he said baseball will be spring, and then it'll be warm, and then here we go. Baseball season will be here. So like I said, I hope we connect during the All-Star game. So we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks
All right.
again.
Yep. Thank you. All right. You have a good one.